He turned $1 stocks into millions, served just 22 months in prison, then got rich all over again by selling his own crimes. This is Jordan Belfort. And the craziest part? We made him a hero. But before you judge him, wait until you hear how he did it, because by the end of this story, you might understand why he got away with everything. Bayside, Queens, 1962. Working-class neighborhood, modest dreams, low ceilings. But one kid didn't believe in ceilings. At 16, while you were probably failing algebra, Jordan Belfort made $20,000 selling Italian ice on the beach. Not by working harder, by working smarter. He convinced customers to tell 3 friends, turned one sale into 10, and discovered something that would make him millions later. The product doesn't matter. The pitch does. Most 16-year-olds would blow 20 grand on a car. Jordan enrolled in dental school. Big mistake. First day, the dean stands up and says, "If you're here to get rich, you're in the wrong profession." Jordan stood up, walked out, never looked back. Why? Because he wasn't there to clean teeth. He was there to get rich, and this wasn't the path. Next stop, selling meat door to door. Yes, you heard that right. Frozen steaks, premium salmon, delivered to suburban housewives who didn't ask for it. Ma'am, USDA prime, flash frozen, cheaper than your butcher. I don't eat red meat. Perfect. Let me show you our salmon. He made $100,000 a month with no warehouse, no trucks, no clue, just pure hustle. But here's what nobody tells you about hustle. It's not sustainable. Late deliveries, spoiled meat, angry customers, mountains of debt. Within months, bankrupt. But in that failure, Jordan discovered his superpower. He could sell anything to anyone, and the product never mattered, only the pitch. So he needed a better product, one with a bigger payout. Enter Wall Street. 1980s, cocaine in the bathrooms, greed in the boardrooms. Jordan lands at LF Rothschild, learns how the game works, how brokers talk, how money moves. Then, October 1987, Black Monday, markets crash. He's fired. But while everyone's panicking, Jordan sees opportunity. He discovers penny stocks, pink sheet garbage that serious brokers won't touch. Unregulated, sketchy, but here's the magic. 50% commissions. Same pitch, 10 times the money. He picks up the phone, calls some guy in Nebraska he's never met. "Mr. Johnson, listen carefully. This company is tiny right now, but they're sitting on technology that's about to disrupt an entire industry. Ground floor opportunity, pre-IPO, completely under Wall Street's radar. When the big guys find this, boom, 10 times returns minimum. You get in now at $1 a share? 6 months from now, you're calling me from your beach house. I'm locking you in for 4,000 shares right now. Sound good? I'm not sure I understand the company." Sir, you don't have to understand the company. You just have to understand the upside. Smart money acts before the crowd catches on. Do you want to be first? Or do you want to read about it in Forbes next year wishing you'd listened? $4,000 sale, one phone call. No rules, no regulators, just cold calls and adrenaline. He'd found his kingdom, and he was ready to build an empire. But he couldn't do it alone. Enter Danny Porish, a fast-talking misfit from Long Island who could close deals like breathing. Jordan had the vision. Danny brought the chaos. Together, dangerous. They launched Stratton Oakmont. The name sounded prestigious, like old money and leather-bound books. Reality? A strip mall boiler room with flickering lights and zero regulatory oversight. The recruits weren't Wall Street analysts. They were bartenders, college dropouts, neighborhood hustlers. Jordan didn't want experience. He wanted hunger. He didn't need thinkers. He needed closers. Then came the training. Jordan created something called straight line persuasion, a psychological pressure system designed to turn stammering rookies into sales machines. Bulldoze hesitation, drown out doubt, guide them from hello to where do I send the check in one unbroken line. The office became electric. Phones never stopped ringing. Money never stopped flowing. Egos never stopped growing. But Stratton's genius wasn't just how they sold. It was who they sold to. They targeted forgotten investors, working-class retirees, desperate parents, people Wall Street ignored. They sold them hope, wrapped in urgency, dressed in false certainty, backed by made-up projections. At first, it was obscure penny stocks, companies that barely existed outside press releases. They'd buy massive blocks of cheap shares in real IPOs, turn the sales floor into a hype machine, flood the market with manufactured excitement, spike the stock, then dump everything at the top. Thousands of investors left holding worthless paper. Wall Street called it a pump and dump. At Stratton Oakmont, they called it Tuesday. By the early 90s, Stratton exploded. The office became a carnival, screaming phones, air horns, $2,000 suits, enough drugs to kill a rhinoceros. Jordan built a culture where fear and loyalty were currency. Top performers got bonus checks, vacations, Rolex watches tossed across the room like candy. Underperformers? Humiliated, fired, replaced in hours. Then came the parties. Strippers in conference rooms, champagne in fax machines, cocaine off compliance manuals. Someone filled a fire extinguisher with whipped cream and tequila. Nothing was sacred. Jordan had become a cult leader in Armani. He bought helicopters, named his yacht Naomi, owned mansions and Lamborghinis, and through it all, he preached the same gospel. Success is everything, and if you're not winning, you're nothing. On paper, Stratton was thriving, but underneath, smoke and mirrors, because when you can't sell truth, you sell dreams. And Jordan had built an empire doing exactly that. But every empire falls, and Jordan's was about to crash harder than Black Monday. By 1994, cracks were showing. The SEC flagged suspicious filings. Complaints piled up from investors who bought at $7 and watched it crash to 30 cents. Brokers were pushing stocks with no revenue, no product, sometimes no working phone number. Management's answer? Close the deal or leave. Meanwhile, hiding the money got complicated. Millions funneled offshore through shell companies, accounts under fake names in Switzerland and Geneva. At one point, Jordan used his housekeeper as a courier, cash stuffed in envelopes sewn into her bra. He called it asset protection. The FBI called it money laundering. Inside the firm, things spiraled. Drugs went from reward to necessity. Quaaludes slowed them down. Cocaine sped them back up. People passed out during calls. One broker had a seizure on the sales floor. Fights broke out over commissions, women, testosterone. Jordan was unraveling faster than his firm. His marriage was collapsing. Pills and couch cushions, syringes in bathrooms. He once crashed his Ferrari into a pillar while high with his 3-year-old daughter in the passenger seat. Then came the yacht incident. June 1996, against the captain's warning, Jordan insisted they sail from Italy to Sardinia during a storm. Drunk, high, convinced nothing could touch him. The yacht began taking on water in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. On board, Jordan, his wife, their daughter, and over $2 million in jewelry and drugs. The Italian Navy had to rescue them. The yacht was destroyed. Jordan survived, but something inside him didn't. Back in New York, the walls closed in. FBI agent Gregory Coleman wasn't just seeing red flags, he smelled blood. He pulled cold call scripts, subpoenaed wire records, tracked real estate purchases that didn't match reported income. He found cash withdrawals in patterns, 50,000 at a time, laundered through casinos and art galleries. Coleman knew what it meant. So did Jordan eventually. What Jordan didn't know? Some of his own brokers had flipped. One caught on separate fraud charges, another burned by an unpaid bonus. They wore wires, recorded calls, turned over evidence. As heat rose, more jumped ship. Not from morality, from self-preservation. October 1996, federal agents raided Stratton Oakmont. Sunrise arrival, phones ripped from desks, filing cabinets emptied, hard drives copied. Someone tried flushing documents. Another walked out with shredded contracts. Didn't matter. The FBI had everything, but Jordan still wasn't done. Early 1997, while under investigation and explicitly told not to move funds, he wired $2 million to Switzerland. The transaction was traced, the conversation recorded. That single transfer became the thread that unraveled everything. By late 1998, Belfort was out of moves. The FBI had recordings, the SEC had filings. He was facing 30 years in federal prison, wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering. So Jordan did what he always did. He sold, not stocks this time, but information. He flipped, cooperated, wore a wire. One by one, people who worshipped him were handed over like receipts. Over 30 employees indicted, brokers, partners, friends who joined Stratton right out of high school, learned to sell from Jordan, followed his playbook. Some served more time than he did. Jordan, 22 months in minimum security. No fences, no cells. Guards didn't carry guns. He played tennis in mornings, lifted weights in afternoons, and at night he wrote. That's where he met Tommy Chong, serving time for selling bongs online. Jordan told him everything, the drugs, the yacht, the cash, the lies that became lifestyle. Tommy wasn't outraged, he was amused. Write it down, he said. So Jordan did. 2007, he published The Wolf of Wall Street. Not a confession, a victory lap. No apologies, no remorse, just yachts, parties, fraud, and punchlines. The public ate it up. He sold film rights, wrote a sequel. 2013, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio turned it into a global blockbuster. The same man who lied to investors was now entertaining them on screen. Audiences laughed, critics applauded. Jordan Belfort, convicted felon, became a pop culture icon. But the people he scammed didn't get movie deals or closure. Most never got their money back. A teacher who lost her retirement, a veteran who invested life savings, a family who remortgaged their home. They were left with debt, with nothing. Court ordered Jordan to pay $110 million in restitution. To this day, only a fraction has been paid. The rest vanished into offshore accounts, real estate trusts, legal loopholes. He claims he's working on it. Victims are still waiting. But Jordan, he's doing fine. Motivational speaker now. Sales coach, podcast host. He sells success, teaches ethics, book stages worldwide. He wears the name The Wolf like a badge of honor, not the scar it should be. He didn't just escape justice. He monetized it. Turned 22 months into a book deal. Turned fraud into fame. And maybe the scariest part? We applauded. He once said I was guilty of being greedy, but so is everybody else. Maybe that's why he got away with it. Because deep down, we never wanted him punished. We wanted to be him. If this story opened your eyes to how the system really works, hit that like button right now. Subscribe, because we're exposing the truth behind the headlines and the stories they don't want you to know. Drop a comment and tell me, is Jordan Belfort a cautionary tale or proof that crime actually does pay? Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.